Introduction to Classical Tibetan, Lesson 2-3, the emphatic particle and Introduction to Honorifics. First, let's review. Connector particles can be translated as of to show things like ownership. They can link an adjective to a noun, or they can indicate apposition. It may be helpful to remember the three main uses of the connector particles like this. If we have any construction, A, ki here representing any of the connector particles, and B, we can translate this as either B of A, B which is A, or A, that is B. If you have trouble identifying the way in which a connector particle is used, try to translate the phrases that it connects in each of these three ways. Now, let's look at the emphatic particle, ni. This particle does not have any meaning on its own, but is used to emphasize a word or a group of words. It sometimes serves to mark the subject of a sentence or to otherwise draw the reader's attention to a word or phrase. It occurs after the word or words that it modifies, and although it can sometimes be translated as concerning or as for, it's often best to leave it untranslated when possible. For example, deni, as for that, or regarding that. Sometimes we can simply translate this as that. It really depends on the context in which this word appears. Ni is a helpful particle when working with long sentences. It can help to identify the subject. A general rule when beginning to translate Tibetan sentences is to look for a ni and then treat everything that comes before it as the subject of the sentence. We'll get into this a bit more later. Another meaning of ni is simply to serve as a filler in poetry. In these cases, it adds no additional meaning to a phrase. Tibetan words often change forms depending on the person who is being referred to or addressed. There are ordinary forms of pronouns, nouns, and verbs, which are used to refer to persons of equal or lower status, and honorific forms, which are used to refer to persons of higher status. There are also some words that have high honorific forms, which are used when referring to a person of very high status, such as a Buddha, a king or a queen, or another high-level figure. The use of honorifics is important in Tibetan, but one of the difficulties in beginning to learn Tibetan is that many words are completely different depending on whether the ordinary or honorific form is used. This, I'm sorry to say, makes more work for you down the line, as you will eventually need to learn the honorific forms in addition to many of the ordinary words that you learn. For now, it's enough to memorize the list of words found on page 22 of your textbook.